Alrighty then. So, okay. In the last lesson, I talked a little bit about forms and how these were not truly like forms, they were more like form structures because, as you can see here, this cube is really just a square and a couple of parallelograms. This cylinder is really just an oval or a circle and a curved polygon. That's it, right? What really made the difference was when you added light and shadow. So for instance, where you have this circle is becoming a sphere because of the light and shadow. And I said that I would teach you how to do that, right? So how to make the shadows go exactly where you want them to be. It's pretty easy. Now, the thing that makes it really easy is that light goes in a straight line, right? So if I've got the light coming from the left-hand side, it's going to create a bright spot on that side where the light hits it, and it's going to have a shadow on the opposite side, right? Same thing, if the light was coming in from the right, it created a shadow on the left-hand side. If it was coming down diagonally, it'd create a shadow this way. If it was coming from the top, it'd create a shadow underneath. Very, very easy. Kind of nice, right? And it makes the drawing really predictable, and I like that. So for instance, here's shadows 101 right here, right? So we've got our light coming in, straight line. You can see like where it hits the edge, comes down, that's where the edge of the shadow is. Coming down, that's where the outside edge is. That's how far the shadow is going to be. Here on this one, look, we've got an outside edge here. We've got one here. Look at that. And it's made this shadow right here. Okay. Now, the thing about shadows is that oftentimes they are gradients, and your shading is also gradients, which means basically that they go from darker to lighter, right? It's not usually a really harsh, darker light. Okay. Also, that the shadows are going to have reflected light. So if you're on the moon, really you have like no reflected light, right? Where it's dark, and where it's light, it's light. But on the Earth, where we have an atmosphere, you get light bouncing off the surface, bouncing through the air that's around, and getting a little bit of reflection over here, over here, over here. So, in essence, you've got a core shadow, a darkest area, right? And then you've got these lighter areas here where it's got a gradient, comes, moves out, moves out, moves out, moves out. But also you have a reflected light area. That's what really makes things three-dimensional. Okay. And usually the outline of the shadow is not super crisp. It's not super hard, right? And as we go through class, we're going to learn a little bit more about this stuff, and you're going to have a chance to actually do stuff, real things, right? Real observation, and you'll be able to see how the light comes down from a real object and it lines up exactly how these sort of virtual objects are that we're drawing right now. These objects that are just done out of our imagination. Okay, so now these are geometric, and so they're really easy. But you can see here, my little ice cream here, with an organic shape, same thing. See how this is hitting here? Light's coming straight down. There's the tip, right? And it's coming off the edge here. See? And so that's where this is. It's coming off the edge here, right? That's where this one is. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just like that. Okay, now here's something to look out for, right? Hopefully this isn't too confusing. But you see here where I've got this sort of telephone pole looking thing, right? This is an amateur mistake. You've got this coming back this way, but then they do this. So you see, it's one of those psychological quirks. You know how with the cubes and the cylinders and stuff like that, you have these psychological quirks. This is the same thing. So this is straight, right? So when they draw this shadow, they also draw that straight. But that's not how it would be, right? Because the shadow is coming off of here, But just like with this cube right here, it's coming off this edge, it's coming off this edge. So with this telephone pole, right, same thing, coming off this edge, coming off this edge, coming off this edge. So if your ground is flat, it's going to be flat here. You see how that works, lining things up? Here's an example, like if it was in a box. I know these are kind of small, but if it was a flat thing and it had something drawn on it, you could see how it would be like that. Here's the easy thing. Go outside, right, and stand like this, right, with your arms outstretched outside in the sun, and you'll see your shadow is going to come like this, right? And your arms are not going to be like this, right? They're going to be flat. Same as your arms are here, same here, right? That's how it's going to be. Go test it, right? And you'll see. That's how the shadows work. Anyways, a lot more on shadows in the next few lessons, right? But for now, let's work on the gradient. You know, before we were shading a little bit, like with my little robot guy, but now we want to break that up a little bit more. So with this one, what I want you to do, this is drawing number 8, and we're doing shaded value scale. That's what it is. It's a shaded value scale. Of course, your name, your period number, and exercise number 8, right? And so I want you to do 2 of them, just like this. Remember, at this point, we're doing things as neat as possible, right? So I want you to go ahead. I want you to draw from the back of the pencil really light, so you get a couple of really nice rectangles going on. Okay. And so when you draw a light, you know, you can draw it just the way you want it to be. Nice and neat that way. And later on, when you're doing things that are more creative, it'll help with that as well. Okay, so there's a couple of rectangles there. And when I feel like I've got them pretty good, you know, I'm going to go ahead and make some dividers. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a 6 value scale. So that's easy. I'll just kind of divide it in half here and into a third and a third. Okay, a third and a third. That's easy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And after I've got that, you know, pretty good, as good as I want it to be, then I'm going to go ahead and darken those lines up. Okay, I know I keep repeating myself, but you know, look at my elbow is not on that table. I'm not drawing from the wrist. I'm using my whole arm. I draw from my shoulder. And look at how straight those lines are. That's the key. Remember, I'm teaching you how to do it. And I've watched kids in class, and I'm just really, I couldn't be happier. Kids are doing it. They're drawing super neat. They're doing, even in these silly little exercises, they're doing the best drawing they've ever done in their life. And I could not be happier about that. Okay, dividing those up. All right. So we've got that. And so then what we want to do, really your lightest value, you know, if anything, it's really no value at all. It's the light of the paper. So I'm going to put almost nothing in there. Almost nothing, right? Just barely darken that up with my finger, but almost nothing. Even that I'd say is almost too much, right? Because it's basically the light of the paper itself is a value. Okay. On the other hand, down here, super dark, and I mean dark, right? Some of you guys, I come around and I darken things up. We just tell you to just go for it. Go for it. And I'm telling you what, too, I could not do this with a mechanical pencil. I would have to have a wooden pencil because I'm really pressing. I'm really pressing on this to make this really, really, really nice and dark. Okay. Be neat. Be neat. Keep it in the box. Keep it in the box right there. Be neat. Because you're practicing that too. That's part of the exercise right now. Part of the exercise is to be neat. Okay. Get all crazy later. But you don't want to be drawing sloppy just because that's the only thing you can do. It should be a choice. It should be a choice. You should be able to draw very creatively, very loosely, freely, as well as very precisely, very controlled. You should be able to do both. Okay, I got those. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a little piece of paper right now, tear off a little bit, go ahead, tear that again, and I'm just going to fold that, fold it, and I'm going to use that for my smudging. That way I don't get my fingers all dirty, and I can just keep reusing that again and again. That's going to be nice, 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 nice. Okay, so now here's the trick. So I've got it super light, and I've got it super dark. Now I can go medium. I think that's going to be too light, isn't it? Maybe that's more about where this one is. See, I can adjust. Even that might be a little bit light. We'll see. We'll see how this scale comes along. Keeping it in the box, nice and neat. That might not be too bad. So I'd say like, okay, let's make this one a little bit darker. A little bit darker, right? And you know, a good rule of thumb, or a rule of thumb, no, a good technique to see your values is squint your eyes. You know, so you're just looking through your eyelashes. Squint those eyes, and that's what you can really see values then. Okay. So that's not bad. You see, this one's a little bit lighter. This one's a little bit darker. Here, I'll make them a little bit smoother with my little piece of paper right there. I don't know. These ones aren't perfect. These ones, I spent a little bit more time on this one, so it's a little bit more perfect, but not too bad. Not too bad, right? So now, okay, so now between here and here, something that's not as light as this, but a little bit darker than this, right? A little bit lighter than this one. So let's see. What about this? That's not too bad, right? Careful. I don't want to go too dark. This is kind of a tricky one, this one right here, because you're making a big step between being like really light, basically white, and then what comes next, right? So it's a kind of a big step. I can see like, oh, maybe I'll darken that one up a little bit, a little bit. Trying to really get a good sense of values. It's my gradient. Okay, so now maybe something between this one and this one, right? So darker than the last one, but not as dark as this one, the bottom one here. So we're getting there little by little. So using the edge of the pencil right there. Right? See, I couldn't do that with a mechanical pencil. I could not do that. So go out, invest in your own pencil. You know, I put out 50, really, I literally put out 50 pencils the first day we started this drawing course. Guess how many I have now? Oh, 7, maybe. 7 sad little pencils, right? So get your own pencils. Get your own. Have your own equipment. That way you can take care of it. It's yours. You own it. And pencils aren't expensive. Wooden pencils are cheap. Okay, is that looking pretty good? Yeah, not bad, not bad. See, this one's actually feeling a little bit dark, isn't it? That's the tricky one. This one right here, that's the trickiest one to get. But we'll move on. If you can get yours a little bit lighter than mine, then, more power to you. That'd be good. Is that any better? Oh, that might be a little bit better. A little bit better. I could fiddle with this all day. All right, so now this one, that's a stepped scale, right? Let's try and make something that's continuous now. So how would I go about doing that? Well, maybe start here at the bottom because I can only go darker at the bottom, so that's kind of nice. I don't have to be too careful there. Kind of start going up a little bit, going up. And Just feeling how that pencil tip is. Going up a little bit. Maybe don't even go up all the way to the top. Let it get a little bit, stay a little bit light up there. That'll be good. And then I can just start working it down a little bit more. Right? Never going too dark anywhere, not yet, not yet. Maybe starting from the bottom here, work my way up a little bit. Keep it in the lines. Keep it in the lines right now. There we go. See how that's becoming a little bit better? So I just keep going over here a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger. I'll switch pencils here. Okay, so now I could probably go a little stronger here, right? Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it like we mean it now. Got that gradient going on. See that nice continuous gradient there. A little darker, a little darker. Not bad. Neatness, you know. I've heard a lot of people say like, well, especially some art teachers or whatever, I don't like it. People color in the lines, like with coloring books. They say, I always colored outside the lines. You know what? I don't agree with that. I mean, if you're going to do something in a coloring book outside the lines and it looks good, cool, right? Or what could you do inside the lines to make it different, to make it your own, right? But just being messy, in other words, it shows no skill. To me, it shows no skill, right? It's not being creative, it's just being messy. There's a difference. There's a difference between being messy and being creative. Now, sometimes creativity can come from a mess, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But you should be able to do both. You should be able to do both. There we go. That's looking pretty good now. Okay, get that gradient going on there. Staying all nice. Even. Okay. Maybe smoothing that out a little bit. Here, I'll start up here where I know it's nice and light. Get it as smooth and nice as possible, almost as if I was painting with a pencil. And there you go. So we've got a couple nice gradients, and you're going to call this drawing. This is number 8. This is our number 8, and this is shaded value scale. Now labeling things is so important because if you label things, if you can name things, you can own them. You understand them, you can own them, right? If you can't label things, if you can't name things, then do you really own them? Do you really understand them, right? And that's what we're building right now. You'll see, we're going to be doing some fantastic drawings real soon. So, there's my name, right? There's my period number. If you have more than one period, this is exercise 8. And so this is a gradient. And you know what? I didn't label that one. I'm going to label this one, though, called a stepped scale. In fact, you know what? That's a 6-stepped scale. Why not? Okay, so that's what we want. Nice gradients, because that, my friends, is what's going to help you to be able to draw like this, things that are really three-dimensional. All right? Well, good luck with that. Do your best, and you will get great results.